I want to know from your opinion, like what makes an email sound more professional? What would happen in that email? And then I want you to think for yourself, what is a situation where you would want your email to sound professional, where it matters to you how that email is going to come across? So think about a situation that you anticipate having, soon, maybe then, who would you be emailing, what would that look like? So I'm talking and giving you like 30 seconds to write really, really fast. They're looking pretty ready. There's a couple of people that okay. When yours is done, I'm going to ask that you hold it up. Hold up your little papers. You're ready with them. This is the check. You actually did them. All right, and I want you to hand your paper to somebody else next to you. And hand it to somebody else. We're going to trade it 5 times, so you should not know whose paper you have. Trade again. If you still have yours, trade again. If you have the person next to you, trade their paper.
I didn't write my name.
You should get totally confused.
You should not know whose paper it is. If you know who it belongs to, pass it again.
One more.
Okay, I can't see that small.
Huh? You can't criticize their right handwriting, so you don't know whose it was. All right. Take a moment to read what is on the paper in front of you. All right, and I'm curious, who has something interesting? What do we think as a group? What makes an email seem professional to you? Grammar, what do you mean by that?
Using the right vocabulary.
Grammar, vocabulary was like the first thing there. The English teacher me appreciates that. Punctuation.
Oh, how you address who you're emailing.
Can you say a little bit more
How
about
you address who you're emailing.
like what do you mean by that?
Like telling them like sir and ma'am and things like that. Like, that's important.
Okay.
Like someone.
The introduction, someone said. What do we mean by introduction?
What's your point you're trying to get across?
So you're talking like actually in the email.
Kind of, yeah, but in introduction, like, what,
The subject of the email.
The subject. What's important about the subject? Can you all hear each other? Like I'm using the microphone, but
I can, we
maybe
take
take the other one around so we can hear the other person speaking.
Open the mic.
No, maybe not.
Do you want to say something about the subject? Maybe we can't. So you said subject. What's important about the subject? I don't know if it's more intimidating when I bring you a microphone. It's on theirs. Okay, we'll put them on the spot. I'm going to come back here because I know all these students on this side of the room. How about you all? What do we have? Good spelling we have over here. What else do we have about making? Oh, this one's long, nice and long. What do you have? So we have a lot of grammar, punctuation coming up. We also have this idea of tone.
Did you say respect?
Yeah.
That's a good.
But how does an email come across as respectful? And what makes that email respectful? Go ahead.
the proper grammar and proper.
I like this comment here.
You address it by your first and last name?
I think we'll talk about this a little bit more. Actually addressing the email is going to come up a little bit, yeah? What else?
Interviews.
We have interviews and upcoming jobs.
Okay. How many of you have one in front of you that says something about a job? How many of you have one that says something about school? Okay. How many of you have something different? Not school or a job? Business. Okay. Something about like running a business, maybe, or maybe like a business you're working with, like you got a product. You want to complain about it.
Maybe have your own business and you want to grow it.
Let's keep going. So we're going to draw on these ideas. We're going to talk to you a little bit about emails and what we think helps them come across more professionally. And then we're going to show you some emails that we've changed it so you can't tell who they're from. But emails that we as instructors get at this college, and we'll talk about, are they professional? Are they not professional? What could they do differently? And you'll all vote on that. So we're going to talk a little bit about some skills. We're going to talk about parts of the email, what should be going into a strong email to clearly get your point across. Because for me it is, like, I think grammar is important, but there's a lot more to an email that makes it get your point across. That's okay. This is, they're gonna do a professional email at the end. All right? All right. Parts of an email. So we're gonna talk about a couple different parts that you'll see up here.
We have the two, and one of you in terms of introduction, somebody mentioned introduction, and part of that, somebody else mentioned, is the subject. The subject line is very short usually and concise, but it's important in terms of setting the tone for the whole email.
I get a lot of emails. I get a crazy amount of emails. So specific subject lines, so I can look and know what you're writing about, 2 thumbs up. How about those 2 things over there? Does anybody know what those stand for? Some people, yes, something about copy. Anybody know?
To another person.
So, yes, I actually had to look it up because I always thought that CC stood for carbon copy, but apparently it stands for courtesy copy. Has anybody ever used one before? Use it. When do you use a CC? If you want to copy, yep. So if you use CC, it shows up, hey, maybe I'm having this, something's going on and I want you to see, I'm emailing somebody else the information. It's not to them, but I can CC them. Does anybody know what the BCC is, how that's different? It's not blank. No. Okay. This is a blind courtesy copy. So if you want the email to go to somebody else for a document, but you don't want the person you emailed to see that you emailed them also, you can use the BCC. So CC is just a way to inform. Maybe, you know, I want to send an email to one of Heather's students about something, and I want her to see that email, but it's not to her, she goes in the CC. But if I'm being sneaky and I just want to make a copy of it and I don't want the student to know, then I'd put her in BCC.
And blind CC is rarer. We don't use it as much as CC.
Good. And this final part of the email is
What is CC used for? Like, could you give us an example?
Sure.
Of what it's used for?
So like, for example, I am having, like, my students in my public speaking class on Monday, or tomorrow, are doing a presentation on animals. One of my students wants to bring a live animal as part of her presentation. And so I emailed security to let them know, but I also CC'd my department chair. So she would have a record that I had asked for. Right, and so I think that could, in your life, that might look like if you were applying to a job and like somebody else had given you the information. Like say you're applying to a job at job X, and your friend Joe also had a job there and recommended you, right? He's like, but here's the boss, email him and CC me. So that way the boss says, oh, you know this person, he's gonna recommend you, but it's not emailed to him, it's just copying him so that that person sees that you sent it.
I can give another example, organizing this event. So Sitlali and Selen did everything, but whenever they needed something, a little bit more push from their supervisor, so I always told them, copy me in all those emails you're reaching out to. Facility, IT, marketing, copy me so that I also know what is happening, and where you are getting stuck, I can help you.
So it's kind of, as Harshan says, it's a way of holding people accountable, and also a time saver.
Yes.
So you don't have to write an email to everybody, and everybody's getting the same information that they need.
I just wanted to ask, can the person receiving the email see that you CC'd someone else?
Yeah. So if you are CC, so if you use CC, then the person receiving the email also sees that other person's name up there. If you use blind CC, they don't see it, and that person just gets a silent copy. And there are times when that's useful, right? Like if you're trying to create some sort of legal documentation or something, you might want a blind CC. Question in the back.
I thought that this would be a good point to make with students. What's the difference between, if you say to two different people, you're also sending those to two different people, the same email. But if you CC them, so maybe you can talk about how if you CC them, they can reply to that thread instead of two.
Yeah, so if you're on the CC, you can write back. I probably wouldn't address my email to that person, it's just a copy for them, but they can still reply. Does that answer, I think?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fun. Parts of an email. This last part is the signature. This is what's on the bottom of my email. You kind of can put your name there, so you don't have to type it at the end of every email. If you have some sort of position, like it has kind of my job description under there, my phone number at my office, and my email, and I don't have to type that on every email, but any student who needs to get a hold of me has that information. I have seen a growing number of students doing this and putting their student ID number down there, which I really wouldn't recommend, because I think that ID number, I mean, I don't know what someone could do with it, but that's more of a private.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
right.
you want to put information on people can easily contact you, but nothing too private. And also, I've seen a lot of people in their signature at this point adding their pronouns.
Yeah. So, parts of an email. All right. So we talked about what makes an email professional. Part of it for me, someone used the term respect, but it's really like tone, right? So one of the questions I'm going to ask, and we started with this, who are you writing to? If I'm sending an email to someone who I'm applying for a job with, my tone is going to sound a lot different than if I'm emailing a couple of friends to invite them over to my kid's birthday party. Right? Like that, just the wording and the sound of it.
Mhm. How does that impact their word choice? And we've talked about it, we're also in a time where people are texting all the time. And so a lot of emails I've noticed over these years have started to sound like texts. And so to be aware of your audience, you really kind of want to choose your words carefully and sort of write in complete sentences. And thinking about who you're writing to, we all know if you're talking to your grandmother, you will address her a different way than you'll talk to your best friend, right? If you're talking to a small child, you'll talk differently to that person. So you're really making choices in terms of professional emails about who you're writing to and how you want to come across. And every word that you use is going to have an impact on whoever's reading that email. So it's a good thing to think about.
Right, and as she was saying, that level of formality, right? Who you're writing to determines how formal that email should be. That said, it's a written record, so I think for me, I always err, this is something that's going to be read, it's going to remain written. Think about how it comes across. And I think even if you're texting, you recognize that, right? When you don't have that voice behind something, it sounds different. You kind of want to think about it. So a couple of quick hints that I put up here. One, avoid all caps. Does anybody know why you don't want to send emails that are all in capital letters? It's like you're yelling, right? Like don't do it when you're texting either, please, or at least, you're not texting me, but if you write all in caps, that doesn't, great. Also, lots of exclamation points. Generally, I think this is just good writing policy. One exclamation point carries some weight, it should be important. If your email is full of lots of exclamation points, it just kind of comes across as like, I don't know, like you're high energy 12-year-old hyper girl or something. I don't know, don't use lots of those. And then I would avoid informal language, right? And I think Heather sort of hit on this. This isn't a text, this is an email. And so you do want to have that appropriate level of formality.
Yeah, and I would also add to this, don't write in no caps, because that happens quite a lot too. Get an email with 0 punctuation, just all lowercase.
So we're going to talk real quickly through a couple parts of emails and what goes traditionally in a different part of email, okay? So the first part of the email, obviously you've got the information. And when you start writing an email, you want to address it to someone. I don't know how many of you out there have gotten emails, but I get a lot of emails where it just starts. And I don't know if this is because sometimes as a professor, students don't know what to address me as, because they maybe call me and Rachel in class, but feel uncomfortable doing that in email, or whatever it is that students will just skip that first entry level. It always just sort of feels a little abrupt. So if you're writing an email, hi, so-and-so, dear so-and-so. If you don't know what you should call them, if it's your instructor, I would generally err on sort of the more formal side, right? Dear Professor Winter, or Dear Dr. Winter, works completely fine.
Or your boss, Mr. or Mrs. or Ms., whatever, rather than their first name if you're trying to convey something professional.
That said, if I teach you, if you write to your Rachel, I'm completely fine with that. I tell my students that's what they should call me. So, it's that balance of finding and getting to know people and figuring out, do address them, but say something. And then the second part, the first line should immediately establish why you are writing. In a strong email, it's like 1 sentence long, maybe 2 sentences long, and it gets the purpose of the email across.
Yes, and also with the subject line, again, and we will repeat ourselves a little bit, but always be very specific about, as this is, right? Email workshop and lunch. We know exactly what that's about, but sometimes we get really vague emails that kind of have a subject that says, my assignment. And if you're teaching 4 classes, you have lots of assignments going on, and you need something a little more, which assignment, where, etc.
Talk about the middle.
So the middle.
Next comes the middle.
And yeah, pipe in there. So you're writing a little introduction. Let us know immediately what is the purpose of your email, and then sometimes you want to add a little bit more about that, a little more detail. And so it's good to have space between your introduction and what comes next. A lot of people kind of write an entire email with no space in it. You're trying to help your reader as much as possible. In terms of being professional, you want to help your reader understand what you're about in this email. So a little bit of space, and then a little bit more detail in terms of the purpose.
No, I think that's, yeah. You want it to be easy on the eyes, right? Like, think about all the emails we get, or at least I get. So you want to get that point across as quickly, as clearly, and you want it to be easy. That spacing in paragraphs works well. And so then you wrap it when you're wrapping up. There's a couple pieces on wrapping up. I'm just going to put all those bullet points on. So your closing paragraph, this is where you want the next steps to be. Especially if you're writing to somebody and you need them to do something for you. In that last sentence, are you interested? Are you going to come to this workshop? If so, please register here, which we didn't all do apparently. But please do. And so it gives you a clear deadline when it needs to be, and like a last question. I find, as somebody who writing back to emails, if there's kind of a vague, maybe there isn't a deadline, or I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do, that email might be the one that kind of falls down to the end. Like if there's a specific question, ask it at the end. And then make sure you end with some sort of polite ending. I often use best wishes, thanks, sincerely, comma, and your name.
Yeah, you want to leave people with a good impression, and part of leaving people with a good impression is signing off in a friendly, have a great weekend, whatever it is, like some way of saying, I want to show my respect to you, and that will stick with the reader in terms of what else you want in the email.
So those are parts of the email. I'm going to talk about the signature line last just to show you how to do that if that's interesting. But what questions exist out there right now? What didn't we get to?
Like the please register here, how do you add those in? Like
The little link?
Add the link. How do you do that?
It's if you copy I just copied her email. But if you copy like a website, you can put it there, and then you can change what it,
So you just copy the website, add it there,
and then it'll click as a link.
and then it turns
Is she asking how to put link?
Yeah.
Okay, we can have another session on that. That is a technical session. I would love to do that.
But mostly, if you just copy the website and put it in, she had titled her page, please register here, so when I copied it, it just
Okay.
put
We put
pre-register.
the link, there is a process. And after that, at the end of this session, we are going to ask you what are the things you want us to present in this session. So
More session ideas, links. Yes, I won't do the technical sessions.
Any
All right.
questions that you have, we've had before too, at various times.
Other questions about parts of the email? 'Cause that was a good one. Any other questions about parts? Was that a question?
No.
Okay. Anybody in the back? No. All right, we're gonna keep moving. I'm not gonna go into this, but if you want me to show you how to do this, how to add that signature line at the bottom, honestly, I opened Gmail and I just typed in how to add signature line and it told me. Because I did it once and it's not something you do again, so I don't remember how to do it. But if you go up to settings and you click see all settings, you can go to the signature box and you can change. So if you want to add that last little detail so your name is always there on your emails, go for it. All right? Questions on that?
We had a question from, is Rachel Begay still here? No? She wanted to know, she had a question about using dear, and I think that's often very appropriate to say dear Dr. Mieklejohn, or, that's fine. You could also just be a little more casual about it, like hello. I've had things like hello, professor, or as long as you're starting with something that's polite, I don't think it really matters.
I like that comment about like a phrase of how you might talk to your grandmother, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey you, not a great start to an email, but hello Heather, hello, that works. All right, so I think that's our little session, all the little pieces we're gonna teach you. We're gonna test you now. So Heather has pulled out some emails that she has gotten, and we're gonna ask you to thumbs up, rate those, thumbs down. Are you ready?
And maybe tell us a little bit about what you would do to help them if they need help.
Yeah, maybe the. All right, thumbs up if you think this one is professional. Can you all see those way in the back? Are those hard to read? You cannot see those way in the back. What do I need to do?
That is the subject line.
In lowercase letters. Hi, I missed a few days because of a family issue. What do I need to do to catch up? I've been really busy with work. Full email. Ooh, it's getting a lot of thumbs down all the way in the back.
Thumbs down.
All right, let's call on some people all the way back. Brian, why the thumb down?
It's not really formal.
It went pretty quick. Everybody's thumbs went down. So let's do it. Here's one more.
So we are recording this session, so when you're talking, talk a little bit loud, or you can use the microphone.
So the subject line here is assignments. Hello.
Hello.
I'm turning in the assignments I revised, thank you. What could I do? What do you think?
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. What could we do to make it a little bit more helpful? Remember, we're trying to help our reader.
They're tough back there. They're getting it all thumbs down.
Should that an introduction would be
introduction.
good?
Specifics, a lot more specifics perhaps.
A lot more specifics, because I think I mentioned to you, we have lots of assignments. And so that's not helpful.
How about in the back? You kind of went like here and then down. Why was yours?
It's not,
Uh,
clarification.
No clarification, right? What assignments, which class? How about the hello? Do we like that?
Yeah.
That's not
We like that there's hello. Anything you would do differently to it?
And maybe just add
Add the name.
Add the name.
Thank
Right.
you. What about, who's this from?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, okay, if I have to look up all of my assignments, hundreds of them, and I'm like, who is writing to me right now? We need a name at the end, right? That would be helpful.
This one came really.
It might come through Northern email, but you don't want your person that you're writing to, if you're writing professionally, you don't want them to have to look up your name, because sometimes your name doesn't really resemble your email address, right? So again, in terms of making things easier.
All right. I heard some people respond to this up front. You can see it. But for you in the back, it says, Dear Dr. Martinez, as I was starting assignment 3, I realized I'm unclear about which reading is related to the question. Please let me know. Thank you sincerely, Jacob Torres. The subject line is question about assignment 3. What do we think about this one?
Yeah, this one's
Why? Why do you like this one?
because it's like, it gets to the point and he's specific about it.
Gets the point, it's specific,
He
right?
gets to the point and he's specific.
Thank you.
Thumbs up from the back too? Got all thumbs? All right. We've got 3 more. Zoom meeting. Dear Dr. Jones, would it be possible to set up a meeting outside of your regular office hours? Because of my work schedule, I can't meet during the day. I'm usually able to meet on Wednesdays after 6 or weekends. Please let me know when you could be available. Best regards.
What do we think of that?
I got some here and some here. Why?
I feel like there could be a lot more specifics. What class is this person talking about? You know,
Mhm.
what reading? You know, what exactly is the material of this?
You're going to be writing very specific emails coming up. I love it when your guys are more critical than I am. Right, yes.
Yes, I actually wrote this and thought it was pretty good, but I agree with you. What class are we talking about? Thank you. There's always something that can be improved.
Subject is, my grade is totally unfair. Hi, I turned in an assignment and I don't know why I got a 0. I didn't turn in anything that I get it, but I did try, so I should get some points. Votes in the back. It's terrible. Why is it terrible?
There's no like sincerely or regards or anything.
You could tell they're mad.
I think that's a good point. Don't write when you're mad. It comes across. It's not going to do you any favors.
Yeah, I was gonna say, besides like the structure of it just not being there, if you're trying to ask something of someone or make a request, if you're polite, it goes a long way. And if you're just demanding of something, you're not gonna receive anything in return, or there's not gonna be like effective communication happening.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important. And I'm going to let you in on a secret. Like, these emails are not like as crazy as maybe they seem to you. These are completely emails we get.
Yes.
So I'm going to switch real quick to the last 2 examples, and then I have kind of a third example. But the next 2 are attempts at more, even a higher level of professionalism, right? So if you were, this person is writing an email after an interview. Good thing to do after you got an interview. The subject is thank you. Dear Ms. Smith, thank you for taking the time yesterday to show me around your facilities and to introduce me to your colleagues in addition to the interview. I was impressed with the work you all do and would very much appreciate the opportunity to work with you. If you have any follow-up questions, please let me know.
Wow.
So this is to somebody you interviewed with. We got one thumb going right up, we got a thumb going down, and no other thumbs moved yet. Let's hear that. Where are your thumbs? How do you feel about this one? Mia, where's your thumb? Yours went there. Yours was first straight up, and now you're looking around the room and it's going down. What don't we like?
It shouldn't have sincerely yours.
Why?
Because it's a professional email.
Okay. I mean, for me, I think that's an okay thing to write sincerely. You might write thank you or
Or, I don't know, I feel like sincerely yours would be like a
Just
more
sincerely.
person.
okay, maybe just sincerely. These are good critiques. I tried to write this as a pretty decent email, just to be clear. I think if you have an interview and you take the time to write a thank you, that's good. But there are some things I think could be a little stronger in it.
Well, the punctuation, the first like line after Dear Miss Smith.
Okay, I did skip the period. Very good catch.
How about the subject line?
Yeah.
It needs to be capitalized.
More specific, could be more specific. I think there could be more details in this. Like maybe a little bit more specific. This is my last chance to make a good impression on somebody I interviewed with.
And a period at the end of the interview.
And a period, yeah. Clearly I was writing this right before I came in here. All right,
She
one
did
more.
it on purpose.
Totally purposeful. Here's another thing. Is this the same one? That's the same email. Oh no, the other one didn't get included. All right. And then here, I did have one, like, if you were writing for a job ask, I think seemed to have copied and pasted the same wrong email. Again, if you were, I think the point I was going to try and make with the last one is you're interviewing for a job or trying to get a job application to be a little bit specific, to focus, like often I will see when I've been teaching technical writing, students will try this out and they focus on like, well, this job would be good for me. How do you switch that email to be more, how would you be a good fit for the position? Or how, the scholarship, why would I be a good, what would I bring to the table rather than what it would get me? And then here's one last one, real live email that was sent to me while writing this post, this one. So here's an email I sent my 13-year-old son. Hey kiddo, you left your lunch on the table, you need to get to school lunch today, I hope you were there serving something good. And here is his response. He writes back, I know, I got school lunch, it was not very good, but I ate it. You want to give him votes on his email structure? And you give him a good.
Since he's emailing his mom, that's perfectly acceptable.
Right.
As his mom, I might have appreciated a thank you for making me lunch, but
I like the use of commas.
like his use of commas, okay.
Does he know he's here on this?
I did show. All right.
So it's again about know your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows his mom and his mom knows him.
And she'll probably make him lunch again.
Yeah.
All right. So are there any questions? All right. Then as a final activity for us here is if you, and maybe we make it optional, I don't know, or if you have a
time.
phone, if you have a computer, if you can write to us, we would love to hear from us. So send us an email. Let us know. I'm going to be looking for your professional level of emailing, so this is your chance to put this into practice. Send us an email. Let us know what you learned from this workshop. Ask any final questions you have on this topic, and send us any email feedback.
Rachel, can I request to add my
Sure.
name as well because I'm collecting data?
Yes.
You want to put your email address? So if you can CC, you can write to us, and you may CC her.
You don't have to
All right.
want to CC her, you can just CC her.
All right. Are there any last questions that you would like to have addressed? If you, yeah, go ahead.
Is there anything too formal?
Is there anything that's too formal, she asks. Dear sire, your highness. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I tend to err slightly more formal, right? Like, even if I call somebody by their first name in person, I mean, if they're my friend, fine. But if they're somebody I work with, I might email them more professionally. But I think using dear, using hello, to hi, and a name comes across pretty
Sincerely
solid. I think
is
sincerely
okay.
actually is okay.
It is formal, but I'd say, yeah, I would say if it's a professional email, on the side of being more formal than you usually are.
John, let me just say it in my part.
So that is, any last questions? Okay, that is,
Oh, okay.
Like, people get offended if you refer to them as sir or ma'am, so how can you avoid that on an email so they don't?
Use their name. So if Mr. Jones,
So just-
yeah.
But could you just put like his first name, because what if they get offended, I'm not Mr.
No,
I mean-
I would, again, err on that. In terms of that, I would err towards giving them a title. If you know the title, like, with a woman, if you don't know if they're married, MS no matter what, is the correct way to address somebody. And I think people would be, so dear sir or dear ma'am would be if you absolutely don't know who it is that you're
to
writing
whom it
to.
may concern.
But to whom it may concern would work rather than the dear ma'am or dear sir
If you
thing,
don't, if you don't know.
if that's a worry, yeah.
Oops.
I was gonna say, so typically I'll email my professors before we start a class, and I don't know these people. I don't know if they're women or men. Like, I haven't seen them, and a lot of the time, like, names aren't necessarily like gender specific. There's plenty of names that aren't. So what would you say you could put in place of using a gender term if you don't know if they're a woman or a man?
Professor, Professor Winter.
Just like dear, like, because also it's not a professor all the time.
You can still say dear.
Well, so her question is, but what if they're a doctor and not a professor? I mean, if you're working at if you're an instructor here, I mean, maybe you're an adjunct instructor, you're not a professor. I think, and anybody who teaches here and wants to chime in the back can chime in. I don't think saying Professor so-and-so is going to be offensive, because they are your instructor. Even if they are Dr. so-and-so, like, I'm also a professor, right? So for me, that goes either way.
You can kind of tell the tone is when somebody's trying to be respectful. You can tell.
Yeah.
Even if some of the words are different.
But professor isn't nice, you don't have to know if they have a doctorate or not. It's
Right.
nice. Yeah.
So there's something, so my name, you can write it down, you probably cannot read it. Farjahan. Farjahan. .SHAWON. Shawon at NNMC. Farjahan Shawon at NNMC. Okay, I have some announcements. If you did not sign up, please come and sign up here. And from Professor Zadwasi's class, how many students are here from our class? Professor Z, are you from Professor Z's class? come and sign up here. She's going to give you a lot of extra credit for attending this session.
And there are the email thing to me. I do have some of you who are also receiving extra credit. Please do email me. I want your feedback.